Like me to tell you where Miss White is at this precise moment, Mr. Carey?
Yes, I would. Go ahead.
She's staying at a hotel called the Priory. It's at Steeple Aston, a small village about 10 miles outside Bicester.
You wouldn't like to bet on that, would you, Mr. Bannister?
What do you mean I wouldn't like to bet on it?
Well, yesterday afternoon I picked up Cathy and I took her round to Doreen Osborne's to collect her things. While we were there, Clegg Reed showed up. I don't think I have to tell you what happened to him.
Go on.
Well, when I dealt with Reed, I searched the bedroom. I found the microphone and the hidden tape recorder. I realized it had already picked up our conversation about the hotel at Steeple Aston, so I'm afraid I left it there, just as it was. I hope that didn't give you a bum steer, Mr. Bannister.
It didn't give me anything. I told Mel Harris a long time ago he'd been making a big mistake if he underestimated you.
Excuse me, Mr. Bannister, you're wanted on the telephone.
I am? You sure it's for me?
Yeah, the lady asked for you, sir.
Where is the telephone?
Over there, through the arch.
Hello, Charles.
Iris, what is it?
Charles, I think there's going to be trouble.
Trouble? What kind of trouble?
Mel's here. He's watching the cafe.
Are you sure?
Yes, I'm positive. He's driven around the block twice already.
Are you sure it's Mel?
Yes, I'm quite sure. He's in the grey Jaguar. Someone must have tipped him off. What are we going to do?
Where are you now? Where are you speaking from, Iris?
I'm in the box opposite the cafe, near the chemist.
All right, don't worry. I'll bluff it out. Leave the car where it is and go home. I'll see you later.
What about you? Mel knows you've been talking to Kerry, so he's bound to...
I say, Iris, I'll join you later. There's probably nothing to worry about anyway. I'm afraid we'll have to continue our conversation some other time, Kerry. I'll phone you in the morning. Sorry about the tea, Greta. Keep the change.
Thank you.
How much do I owe you?
1.60.
I take it was a lady on the phone, was it?
Yeah, seems to have had his mashing orders, doesn't he? Sounded like Mrs. Bannister to me. Whoever it was, she was in quite a tease.
Do the Bannisters come in here often?
They used to come in quite a lot at one time, for coffee mostly. We have not seen quite so much of them recently.
That's how you like it.
Looks highly satisfactory. Thank you, Gary.
Well, thank you for coming to see me, sir, at short notice. I appreciate it.
Why did you send for me?
Well, I wanted to have a talk with you, and I didn't want to come to the office, just in case. You see, I found out the truth about my father.
Go on, Kerry.
Well, this afternoon, after Charles Bannister died, I took his wife, Iris, back to the house. She was in a terrible state, and I just let her talk. I couldn't have stopped her if I'd wanted to. Well, she told me about my father, about Mrs. Lincoln. She explained why Delaney...
Kerry, I'd like to hear what Mrs. Bannister told you, but don't you think you better start at the beginning?
Yes, I'm sorry. Well, apparently, before she was working for my father, Mrs. Lincoln had a variety of jobs, rather a checkered career, in fact. Well, one day she discovered that one of the men she was working for, a man called Mel Harris, was running a call girl agency. Well, she gathered evidence of this, photographs, a list of agents, a photostat of an incriminating letter he'd written, and she started to blackmail him. Then one day she realized the risk she was running, and she told Harris that if anything happened to her, my father would take over. She implied, in fact, that she and my father were working together.
Which wasn't true?
No, of course it wasn't. Even Mel Harris had his doubts about this, so he got Iris Bannister to become friendly with my father and to report back to him. Well, she told him that in her opinion, Mrs. Lincoln had lied, and she also told him that Mrs. Lincoln was crazy about her dog, Midge.
I see. They kidnapped the dog, then offered to return it in exchange for the letter and the photostats.
Yes. Rupert Delaney phoned Mrs. Lincoln and arranged to meet her. Incidentally, that was when Mrs. Lincoln, not my father, jotted down the number of his car. Well, Rupert took her back to the flat and showed her the dog collar, just to prove that they had in fact got the poodle. Well, when Harris realized that Mrs. Lincoln wasn't going to play, he took that as confirmation that my father was involved.
I see. You decided to kill your father and scare the hell out of Mrs. Lincoln.
Yes. Harris and Clegg Reed followed my father to the golf course. Clegg Reed knocked him out. Harris picked up a heavy stone. Afterwards, they just left the stone in the bunker.
Together with your father's body.
Yes, then Rupert Delaney came forward. He was already on the golf course with his prepared story about the golf ball hitting my father.
And your father falling and striking his head on the stone.
Yes.
Well, I must confess, it seems to tie in with what Kathy White told you. Though what I don't quite see is why Delaney sent you that note and the collar.
Well, Delaney didn't send it.
Who did then?
Kathy. Kathy White. You see, by this time, Kathy had an inkling of what was happening, and she thought the best thing for Rupert was to see me and make a clean breast of it. But she knew he wouldn't do it unless he was forced into it. Then she had the idea of sending me the dog collar and the note. That evening, she told Rupert what had happened, and she gave him the receipt. She said the very next day he'd be interrogated by the police, and if he had any guts, he'd tell us the whole story. Unfortunately, they had a row. Delaney went back to the flat and sent for Mel Harris. Well, I don't have to tell you how Harris solved the problem.
No, you don't. There's one thing you can tell me, Carey.
What's that?
Who is Mel Harris?
Putney 3302.
Is that you, Jack?
Ah, hello, Ed.
I've got some news for you. We found Doreen Osborne.
Where is she?
Your hunch was right. She's in a nursing home in St. Albans. She's having an operation on her face the day after tomorrow.
Have you seen her?
No, but the sergeant talked to her. I'm afraid she won't talk, Jack. She won't say a thing.
Where is this nursing home?
Well, it's in Mayley Park, St. Albans. It's run by a plastic surgeon called Douglas. Clever chap by all accounts.
Fine. Thanks, Ed. Thanks for phoning.
Oh, may I come in?
Yes, of course. Come on in.
Jack, I've just been reading in the paper about this man Bannister and the car accident. Now, wasn't
No,
he the
Jack,
man...
it wasn't an accident. He was murdered. He was run down.
What, deliberately?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes, I am quite sure.
Were you there when it happened? Did you see the car?
No, I didn't. I was in the cafe. I'd just been talking to Bannister. He'd only just left me.
Who Bannister had?
Yes, you remember that telegram I sent yesterday?
Yes.
Well, Bannister turned up instead of his wife. Look, Doug, I'd like to tell you about this, but I've got someone coming to see me.
Yes, Jack. Well, it's none of my business anyway.
No, I didn't mean that. As a matter of fact, I want to have a talk with you. You see, I may need your help.
My help?
Yes. Look, I'll tell you about this later. Are you going to be in the shop?
Yes, I've got an appointment with Allied Sports at 3 o'clock, but that's all.
Fine, I'll see you before then.
Okay, Jack.
It's all right, Sergeant. You can go now.
My orders were to deliver you personally, miss.
Hello, Kathy. Come on in.
Good morning, sir.
Thank you, Sergeant. Thank you very much.
It's a pleasure, sir. Any time, miss. Just ask the inspector to give us a buzz. We can be very useful in the rush hour.
Have you had breakfast?
Yes, thank you. I just finished when the sergeant arrived.
Were you surprised when I asked you to come up?
Well, yes, I was.
So sit down, Kathy. Would you like a cup of coffee?
No, thank you, but I'd like a cigarette if you've got one.
Yes, of course. You look worried.
I'm afraid I am.
Why? Because of what happened yesterday?
Yes. It wasn't an accident. Charles Bannister was murdered.
Yes, I know. I also know why he was murdered. Kathy, I saw Bromford this morning. We had a long talk. We want you to help us.
I'll do anything I can.
Yes, I know, but I want you to know what you're doing. I want you to realize what you're getting into.
What is it you want me to do?
We want you to talk to Doreen.
But I don't know where she is. I haven't seen
She's
her
in a
since-
nursing home in St. Albans. She's going to have an operation on her face the day after tomorrow. We want you to see her before the operation.
All right. But if I know Doreen, she'll be too frightened to talk. She won't say anything, not now. It's too late.
Yes, I know that.
Well, then why do you want me to see her? What's the point?
We want you to do the talking, not Dory.
I'm damned if I understand you, Kathy. I don't know what you're talking about. Just don't know what you're getting at.
I'm not getting at anything, Doreen. I'm simply asking you to deliver a message for me.
And how can I deliver a message to someone I don't even know?
Oh, for God's sake, stop treating me like a child. You know Harris. You've had dealings with him. You've spoken to him on the phone, not once but hundreds of times.
Kathy, why do you think I'm in here? Why do you think I'm having this bloody operation tomorrow? I was beaten up. I was beaten up because Mel Harris...
Doreen, all I'm asking you to do is deliver a message. If I knew Harris, if I knew how to contact him, I'd do it myself.
What is this message?
Tell him I've been to see you. Tell him I've returned to your flat and I want to talk to him. Ask him to see me tomorrow morning at 11 o'clock.
He won't see you. He'll send Clegg Reed, and you know what that
You can't
little
send
bastard-
Clegg Reed. The police have picked him up.
Clegg?
Yes, they're holding him on a murder charge.
When did this happen?
Look, Doreen, I haven't a lot of time. I've got to be back in town by 1 o'clock. Will you do this for me?
Well, supposing I do. Supposing I phone Mel Harris and he asks why you want to see him. What do I say?
You tell him the truth. You tell him you don't know why I want to see him.
You want a reason. He's not going to accept.
All right. Tell him I want Rupert's job. The same flat, the same terms, the same setup.
You mean you want to work for Harris? You want... Oh, you're not serious.
I'm deadly serious. I'm sick to hell of playing around, Doreen. I know what Rupert was making. I know how he operated. There's no reason on earth why I shouldn't take over and do precisely the same.
But only the other day you told me you didn't know anything about Rupert. You said you thought he was in the property racket.
Doreen, I've got to have an answer. Will you ring Mel Harris for me or won't you?
All right, I'll ring him. But you're making a terrible mistake, Kathy. If you take my advice...
I don't want your advice, Doreen. I just want you to do what I'm asking you to do.
All right, I'll ring him tonight. But he won't play. He won't see you.
I think you will.
You don't know Mel Harris.
No. And he doesn't know me. Tell him I was a friend of Mrs. Lincoln's. A very close friend. Tell him we used to have long, cosy little chats together.
Oh, good morning.
Good morning.
Can I have a word with Miss Osborne, please?
Oh, she's not here at the moment, I'm afraid.
Oh, dear, how very unfortunate.
Can I help you? I'm a friend of Miss Osborne's.
Well, my name's Penn, Norman Penn. I keep a pet shop. Doreen, Mrs. Osborne.
Oh, yes, of course. I've heard Doreen talking about you. Come in, Mr. Penn.
Oh, thank you.
Doreen's away at the moment, I'm afraid. She's had an operation. I don't suppose she'll be back before the end of the week.
Oh, I didn't realize. I thought... Well, it's not important.
Are you sure I can't help you?
No, it's very kind of you, but... Well, it's just that Miss Osborne said she might be interested in buying another Siamese cat. She's got one already, you know.
Oh, yes, I know. Chow.
Yes.
Some friends are looking after it till she gets back.
Oh, good. It's a sweet little thing. Yesterday, a customer of mine brought me another one, just like Chow, an absolute darling, perfect pedigree. I feel sure she'd sell it if the price was right.
Well, why don't you ring Doreen and talk to her about it? I'm sure she'd be pleased to hear from you anyway. She's in the Maley Park Nursing Home, St Albans. I don't know the number, but it's sure to be in the book.
Thank you. That's a very good idea. I'll do that. It's really very kind of you. Goodbye, Miss...
Goodbye, Mr Penn. Hello, who is that?
This is Douglas Croft. He's arrived. I've seen him. He's in the building now.
Thank you.
Terribly sorry to bother you again, but did you say the nursing home was called Merton?
No, Maley. M-A-Y-L-E-E.
Oh, yes, of course. How very stupid of me. Oh, what on earth made me think it was Merton?
Maley Park Nursing Home, St Albans.
Oh, yes, I've got it now. I'm not terribly bright this morning, I'm afraid.
If you'd like to come in, Mr Penn, I'll write the address down for you.
Oh, no, it's all right. I'll remember it now. I feel quite sure. Thank you again. You've been most helpful.
How did you get in?
Up the fire escape, through the bedroom. You look frightened.
I am. I'm scared to hell.
Oh, don't worry. It'll be all right. Everything's under control. Here he is. Now remember, keep cool. Play it cool, and for God's sake, watch his hands.
Miss White?
Yes?
Good morning. My name is Lincoln. Leonard Lincoln, Storm Insurance Company. I think we have an appointment, Miss White.
An appointment?
Yes. It was made yesterday through a mutual friend, Doreen Osborne. Unless, of course, I'm mistaken.
No, you're not mistaken. I've been expecting you. Come in.
Thank you.
What did you say your name was?
I said Lincoln, but you can call me Harris, or Mel, or Mr. Harris, whichever you prefer, Miss White.
What do your friends call you? Assuming, of course, you have friends.
Oh, I have friends. Some very influential ones. You'll be surprised. However, I didn't come here to discuss my friends. I understand you want something from me.
Yes?
What?
I want a job. The one Rupert had.
Are you sure that's what you want?
Yes. I want his job and his flat.
But you saw what happened to Rupert.
I did.
Doesn't that frighten you?
Yes, it frightens me. But Rupert was a fool. He lost his nerve. I don't lose my nerve quite so easily.
No, I don't think you do.
Well, what do you say?
Say?
About the job and the flat.
I'd like to think about it. I'd like to know just a little more about you before I make a decision.
You already know quite a lot about me.
Not enough.
All right, then think about it. And while you're thinking about it, there's something I'd like you to remember.
What's that, Miss White?
It's not what you know about me that's important, Mr. Harris. It's what I know about you.
And what is it you know about me?
Well, for one thing, I know why you killed Charles Bannister.
Do you, my dear?
Yes, he was getting too big for his shoes. He'd started something else, something on his own. I don't know what it was he was playing at. But my guess is, whatever it was, you didn't like it.
You're damned right I didn't like it. He was peddling narcotics. He didn't want me to know about it, so he used a different name. Pretended he was an invalid. The bloody fool. For a time he had me worried. Really worried. I was afraid the police would pick him up and he'd start talking. And believe me, he'd plenty to talk about.
I can imagine.
Can you, my dear? How much did Rupert tell you?
About what?
About me. About my setup.
He told me how many girls were involved. One night when he'd had too much to drink, he showed me the list and the photographs.
Did he? What else did he show you?
He told me about the property. He said you owned 5 houses down at...
5? 5 houses? Good God, he didn't know the half of it. If I told you what property I own, how many girls I run, what my turnover was this month alone, you just wouldn't believe it. Let it ring.
It might be
It doesn't matter. Let it ring. Doreen Osborne told me you were a friend of my aunt's, a close friend.
I know.
Is that true?
No, I've never even met Mrs. Lincoln. I said that to Doreen because I thought it'd make you curious.
It did. I'm still curious. I want to know why you want to work for me, why you need a job.
Well, I should have thought that was quite obvious. I've very little money and nowhere to live. And from what Rupert told me...
I did believe you. You're an operator. That's why you were able to handle Rupert. That's why you moved in with them.
No, that's not true.
I think it is. Do you think I haven't met this situation before, for God's sake? Do you think it's new to me? A girl overhears something, or learns something about me. She feels important. It gives her a misguided sense of power. Then suddenly she takes a risk.
What risk? What are you talking about?
You know what I'm talking about. Blackmail.
I'm not trying to blackmail you. I wouldn't dream of trying to blackmail you.
I think you are. I think you are. You dangerous little bitch.
You bitch!
Nothing to worry about, sir. No, they're bringing him down now, sir.
Sorry about that. I was talking to Bromford.
I trust the superintendent is pleased with our efforts?
Yes, very, yes. He seemed highly delighted. I should think you'll get promoted, Ed.
Put me in charge of the canteen.
Yeah, we'll see you later.
All right. Bye, Jack.
Mrs. Lincoln had several collars specially made so she could conceal things in them. As a matter of fact, when Bannister kidnapped Midge, he found the letter and the photostat all the fuss was about, but he didn't tell Harris about this. He thought it'd be a good idea to have a hold over him. When Harris asked him for the collar, Bannister gave him another one.
The one Rupert had, the one I sent you?
Yeah. Kathy, what are you going to do now this is over?
I don't know. I've been offered a job in Manchester, but I don't know whether to take it or not. I thought I might go away for a week or two.
Why don't you go down to Steeple Aston, the place I told you about? It's quiet, it's a nice hotel, they're very nice people.
I might just do that. I suppose you get the train from Paddington, do you?
No, you don't.
No. Oh, Euston then?
No, you can't actually go by train.
You can't?
You have to have a detective inspector to drive you down there. It's the only way.
Is it? Oh.